Gareth Harding, mapping foreign correspondence in the EU. It's obviously a very interesting time for how foreign correspondence is being reported in the EU. There is talk of journalism going up, journalism going down. What do you think?
Well, what's been remarkable actually is how the numbers in Brussels have been very stable. A lot of media reported that the numbers have shrunk in the last 10 years, but in fact they've risen over the last 30 years quite substantially, doubled in numbers, and over the last 10 years they've kept around the same level, which is around 950 accredited correspondents to the EU.
Do you think perhaps that media, in reporting that somehow that correspondence is diminishing, are in fact interpreting the apathy towards the EU that is perhaps present and kind of converting that into fewer journalists?
That's one of the reasons. I mean, I think the crisis clearly had an effect. There are less journalists from countries like Germany, Greece, for example. So we've seen a decrease in some areas, like we have across the board, especially in newspapers. But in fact, that's been compensated by increases in other areas. For example, the number of Chinese who are reporting on the EU from Brussels. So I don't think that there's actually a less interest in the EU. In fact, the crisis and the economic crisis has seen a greater interest in the EU than perhaps ever before. It's been front page news for the last 4 or 5 years. And that actually led to an increase in the number of correspondents, not a decrease in the last 2 or 3 years.
A very well attended event today at the Press Club, well done for that. However, I've noted that perhaps 99% of the people here are journalists. Is this not becoming a little bit incestuous? Is it journalists patting each other on the back and saying everything's okay, or is there a willingness to say that everything's okay?
I don't think there's a willingness for journalism or journalists to say that everything's okay here at all. I think I'll speak to a lot of journalists and they'll say this is a profession in crisis. The numbers we've seen a lot of our colleagues get laid off here. Conditions are worse than they were 10 or 15 years ago. There are less full-time accredited correspondents. People are having to work harder for their money. They're working very long hours. So I don't think there's any self-congratulation going on at all.